Welcome back, everybody, to Gorehead and the Wiener Casual Creeps. It's like, what was this called again? Yes.
I know. I was like, I already forgot the name. It was like, it's not the same, but I don't know what it is.
That's how casual it is. We don't even remember what we call
So
the
casual, we
podcast.
have no format and have no idea what we're talking about. You don't even know if we're going to talk about a movie because we may not remember.
Hey, could just be rambling the whole time.
That's a strong possibility that could
But
happen.
yeah, we have been working our way through Them, which is a series on Amazon Prime. Last week we talked about the first episode, and this week we're talking about the second episode. And before we get into it, another reminder that this podcast, especially Casual Creeps, is like completely just spoilers. There's
Oh yeah,
there's no warning. We're just talking about the summary of the entire show, or
the episode, and talking
episode by
about our
episode.
feelings on it, I guess.
Yeah,
What we
very
thought of it.
casual discussion. So if you want to watch that and come back, feel free to do so. Otherwise, we're just gonna chat about it.
Get right
And
into it.
yeah, this time, it was another very good episode, and a lot of terrible racism happened
Oh,
again.
so many terrible things. Peach
Yeah.
pie.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Oh
the
no.
pies. Yeah. So, the previous episode, it was kind of, we did sort of see some flashbacks, and it started out the same way again this time, where we start out. We were sort of reminded of what happened last time, where their
The
dog
dog's
was
dead.
murdered. Sarge was killed. Poor
Literally, there's
Sarge.
like broken neck,
I
like
know.
Van Dam, or what was it? The stupid guy, I can't remember his name now. Jean-Claude Van Damme, the other one with the squinty eyes that breaks everybody's neck. He's
Action guy.
Action Man.
Action
That
Man.
was very pointless.
Yeah, that's a
Very
good
pointless
point.
reference because I couldn't remember what the hell it was. So that's the rambling that you get.
That's my favorite reference input, is when you can't remember what the reference is, but you have to say it anyway.
Yeah, I've gone too deep, so it's just like, well, I can't just not say anything at this point. But I've definitely forgotten his name, so I should have like prepared this in my mind first, at least tried to figure out if I could remember his name.
So yeah, random Action Man reference, and
That's how the
then
dog died. Steven Seagal. I did it! Brought it full circle.
Yeah, I guess he does have squinty eyes.
Yeah, he always looks like this. He has like a stupid ponytail.
Yeah, I hate his ponytail.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's like, he has a reality TV show where he's like a sheriff in the South.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
I bet it's awful. It's probably like Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, that's what I thought of.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Steven Seagal. And then we we do flashback immediately to North Carolina before the Emerys have moved.
Yeah.
And lucky Emery is currently pregnant, and we just see, I believe her name is Ruby.
Yeah.
Sitting at the table. And they're all eating pie, apart from Henry.
Yeah.
He's not eating pie. He's having a mental breakdown because he's having flashbacks from the war.
Yeah. He's a little twitchy.
He throws the pie against the wall, and then he goes outside for a breath of air, and that's when we learn that he was experimented on during the war. So we're assuming this is almost immediately after he's gotten back from the war. And
I think they said it was 1945 or 46, so that would have been right after World War II.
Yeah, there you go. And he explains to Lucky that the things that they did to colored people
specifically
colored soldiers,
Americans did this to them. Their own side did this
exactly.
to them. It wasn't like,
it was,
because you would assume the Nazis, he got captured as a prisoner of war, but no, he didn't even get to go to war. He was a literal lab like human test
Yeah.
subject for chemical weapons.
Yeah.
That's
So their
not cool.
own side were they tested nerve gas and mustard gas on the
Hmm.
colored soldiers so that they could identify the signs and symptoms.
Yeah. Oh,
Eh,
actual fun fact, I had to make in my days as a chemist, I actually had to make mustard gas. It was like it was an
oh
offshoot of
shit.
the chemical reaction we were doing. And it's like this really deep, like orange. And I once got like some of it in my mouth,
Oh,
and the taste of it is like the most unnatural metallic-y tingy taste you can possibly like. You just know it's like this is nothing from nature. It tastes so like synthetic and burns, and is couldn't get the
oh,
taste out
that's
of my mouth all day.
that is awful. Did it taste sweet?
It was more like tingy metallic. Also because we also were digesting rock samples, like mineral samples. That was my job
Yeah,
to digest like rock samples. So that metallic flavor would have been from the rock samples. So because it was a
gotcha.
mixture, like we didn't just make the gas. The gas was just a byproduct of what we were doing because
Oh, okay.
mustard gas is just chlorine gas, and
Gotcha.
so yeah, when
That
you
is
boil
freaky.
hydrochloric acid and nitric acid together, you create chlorine gas.
Shit. Well, don't do that, please,
Yeah.
anybody.
Well,
At
thankfully, it's
home.
quite difficult to get your hands on
Okay,
hydrochloric and nitric acid. Thankfully,
that's
you
good.
don't go down to the pharmacy. It's like I would take a bottle of this.
Yeah. It's like, nope,
Yeah,
not for you.
yeah. We sell
Um,
medicine.
not poison.
Yeah,
But yeah, we find out that mustard gas, when it was ingested and smelled by these soldiers, it smelt very sweet, which is why it was triggering such a strong response in Henry. So
yeah,
he's super upset because his wife and his daughter built this fresh peach pie that he can't consume because it just overwhelms his senses um, with horror from the
yeah,
war, understandably.
yeah. It's
So
like the
yeah,
equivalent, like shell shock or something. Ugh.
yeah,
PTSD. It's not fun.
PTSD, no fun at all. And right near the end of the flashback, we discover how they find Sarge, their dog, and he was
Oh
just like this little
yeah,
puppy. I know, he's like this little puppy
so
scratching at the
cute.
door, and it freaked out Henry, and he goes down to investigate, and then it's like super spooky music as
Yeah, and he's like
Lucky
really
is going
intense.
down to see what the heck is her husband is doing, and he's just got this cute little puppy, and he names him Sergeant. And
Yeah,
then
he's
we go
essentially like
back
his
to
PTSD like pillow.
yeah,
Like you could tell that dog meant a lot to him,
yeah, exactly.
which
And
makes
then we
it
cut back to reality, and we're reminded that their dog is now dead.
Steven
Great.
Seagal style,
I
and
know.
cops are just pounding on the door. Like,
Yeah. So that's what we cut back to reality, and it's day 3.
yeah,
And
that moment's almost a joke. I think it's supposed to kind of almost come off as funny because as the cop is slamming his fist on the door, it just does that one beat pause where it says day
yeah,
3 and ding dong, and then it
yes.
cuts to inside. Like that has to be a joke. Like it's
It's
comical
like a
and
little bit more lighthearted because of how insane this is. And
yeah,
it isn't more the color of their current day is a lot brighter and more vivid than
mhm.
the sort of sepia
Yeah,
grayness
yeah. Yeah,
of
it's
their
very like
flashbacks.
it's like Leave It to Beaver colors everywhere.
It
You
is.
know? They
And
really
it's very strange because it's like, yeah, you've got the housewives and they're all dressed up and their
the woman.
dresses and stuff. And yeah, it's such
Well,
a weird juxtaposition too, because it's like they're bright, beautiful wallpaper and all this horror is happening right in front of you.
yeah, it's like left up to you essentially as the viewer to decide. It's like which time period is worse for them,
Yeah.
and it's like, I don't know. I couldn't actually tell you if it's like worse because they reveal more about the past as well, and it's just like I don't know. It's just like it doesn't matter where you go. You're fucked. You're gonna
Yeah.
have a
It
horrible
just seems
life.
like a bad time wherever they go.
Yeah, and that was what I was thinking. Like, there's the scene when he's like burying his dog in the backyard, and he gets in an argument with his wife, which is like so believable that they would have an argument over how tense the situation is,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my god, how did anybody like relationship survive racism? Like that would be so hard of a burden, like to
Yeah, and because you
add.
understand both sides because, yeah, like, what we're gonna get into now is how the police handled the situation, and
Mhm.
it's the main cop, or not the main cop, but the, little not henchman, what are the
Like the
regular
two,
police
yeah,
the
the
regular
two
police
officers.
officers, because there is an actual sergeant
Yeah,
outside
yeah,
that's
they're like his
feeling.
lackeys.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
The
essentially.
henchman.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're like the friggin' Gestapo, like knocking on the door,
Oh,
and they're like
they were
making
being
the little girl
horrific.
scream.
Yeah, and they're just being extremely racist and confrontational and aggressive. And then the sergeant outside is dealing with the housewives, and Bets, of course, is just like, "Are you going to do anything about this?
He's
Like,
like,
did you
put your
see she was waving a
face.
gun and she was yelling at us?" And he was like, "Well, did she ever leave her lawn? Like, did she confront you guys?" And she's like, "No, but she had a gun." He was like, "Well, if she didn't actually do anything, there's nothing we can do. So I
Yeah,
suggest you go back to your house." And I was like, "Oh, thank God.
I
At least
know.
he's not like a total piece of shit, you
Yeah,
know?"
he's at least like, I don't know, tolerable
Yeah.
kind of racist. Like
He's still racist, but it is more of that systemic
yeah,
racism
it's at
that is
least
just
it's
sort of
yeah. You
taught.
don't have he doesn't give off like an intense feeling of dread at all times like the other two cops when they're just staring at the family who are
They're
terrified.
super outwardly racist for
Yeah, and
no
very
friggin'
aggressive.
reason. And extremely aggressive. So then the sergeant comes inside and he sees that how aggressive these people, or the
Other two
police
cops.
officers,
Yeah.
are to the Emerys, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, calm it, like chill out, calm down. Let's explain what's going on here." And so then Henry takes him down to the basement, shows him the dog with like a very obviously twisted
Oh,
neck,
it's
and
backwards.
it's backwards.
It's
And the
backwards.
sergeant is like, yeah, I'm pretty sure some animal just snuck into one of your windows. Your window's open.
Yeah.
It wasn't a person because no person could fit through there." And it's like, but an animal can't do this.
No, it's like
It
they have
seems
like
so
bite
stupid.
marks, claw, blood.
Yeah.
You know, they don't like
So,
sneak in.
yeah, it's so fucked up. And so Henry is just kind of like, okay, okay, sure. That's probably
Yeah.
just an animal. And then in order to kind of appease the sergeant and the cops, he basically has to call his wife insane and be like, "She's
Yeah.
not feeling like herself lately. I'm really sorry that she had a bit of a meltdown in front
Hmm.
of our house. It won't
Yeah.
happen
Yeah.
again." And Lucky is just sitting there seething like, "What the fuck,
Yeah.
dude? Why would you do that?" But he has to say that to get them out of the house. And then as soon as they leave, he just breaks down because it's just like the
Yeah.
shit he has to say in order to kind of be on their side. And they'll never be on his side, but he has to kind of
Yeah. And
pretend like he is getting along with them, you
well, and
know?
he's terrified because he knows that like if he fucks up, they could just beat the shit out of him, his wife, his
Yeah.
maybe his kids. Like they don't know if he antagonizes them to a point where they get violent, which probably wouldn't take too much.
Yeah.
He has to essentially just eat his pride and so that
Just
his
be
family
the
doesn't get hurt.
most, yeah.
It
What's
has
the
that really
word?
cool like camera shot where it splits the image in half and like half of the camera is the guy's face and the other half is the wife's face and
Yeah.
they're like flipped upside down too so like their eyes are kind
They
of matching each other. That's
I
really
love
cool.
that. They do those really interesting camera, um, s or screen splices, I guess,
Yeah,
a lot throughout the show, and it's really stylistic. I love it.
yeah, it adds a light excitement to the scene.
Yeah.
And then
Uh,
yeah, and then so they and that's the scene that next is the one we were just talking about where they have that
right, yeah.
argument in the backyard as he's burying him and then he sends his daughter Ruby off to high school and that begins the next layer of terror that you feel for this family as he releases his daughter into the high school, and it's like a sea of white racist kids all just
Oh,
turn and look at her, and like these fucking bitchy young cheerleading girls won't let her by, and then she starts
oh, they're so
walking in, and
rude.
everyone's looking at her, and then she just does one final look back to her dad, and like his face is so
So
pained.
sad.
He's like, I'm so sorry that I need to send you to that place, because
Yeah,
he knows that they're gonna treat her like shit, and it
they
happens
freaking do.
in a real big way, and they're fucking dicks about it. Feels so
Oh my
bad
god,
watching this show.
I
It's,
know.
but
I'm
it's
just gonna
so good.
explain the whole school thing
Yeah,
right now
yeah,
because it kind of cuts back and forth, but I
yeah,
think it'll
yeah,
just make more sense if we explain what happens now
yeah.
in
We don't have
like
to
one
go like
go.
shot by
Um,
shot.
yeah, but yeah, so she gets into this school, everyone's staring at her, and she's in her class and she's really just trying to pay attention to the teacher and she knows the answer to a question, so she raises her hand and answers it correctly. But after she answers it, the entire class starts making monkey sounds at
And
her
acting like monkeys, and like
and
getting like
acting like
behind her and
monkeys.
screaming at her, and
The entire class.
it's
And
so uncomfortable.
she starts crying, not
And the
loudly,
teacher's
but
like
just like a
trying.
single tear goes down her
Yeah,
face. And then the teacher just calls her up to the front, hands her a detention notice, and on it it says, for disrupting the class.
yeah, like that
So
is,
fucked.
oh, it's
She
so
goes to
insulting.
detention because she was disrupting
Oh,
the class for being
because she
there.
was like a victim of racism. That's like your, that's what you get, is you get
Yeah.
sent to the principal's office, and nothing happens to any of those fucks that did all of that. And
Yeah.
then she meets this friggin' girl who's also a different type of racist, and it's just like,
Yes.
oh god, it's like, it's so many layers of horribleness, and like how this,
It
that
was
you, she's,
weird because it was like she was trying in her head, this
she
girl,
thought
this
she
white
was
girl sitting next to her in detention, thought she was being nice.
like tolerant, and like she thinks so highly of herself for doing this, for this, helping this black girl, and like she says, oh, you're pretty for a black girl, and it's just like, oh, you, that is such a fucking
Yeah.
insulting thing to say. It's like, and like you can tell she just thinks that she's better than her with like every word that she says to her. It's just like, nice
Yeah.
to meet you. It's just like, oh, don't talk to her, she's not your friend.
She's not your friend. Yeah. But it was sort of like if I was in that situation, if I was Ruby in that situation, I would almost just take it and be like, she's actually asking my name.
And it
Like,
is,
given
it's yeah.
given everything else they've gone through, it's not right, but it's still like I'm just like, holy shit, like
Yeah, you would want to hope for any sort of friendship
the
at that
fact that
point.
that is considered nice compared to
Yeah.
everything else is absolutely insane to me, but
Yeah, well, that's like the beauty of
oh my
that,
god.
actually, just pointing that out, is, how twisted it is that actually comes off as kindness in her mind, because she gets treated so aggressively bad from all the other students, that like subtle, like, I don't know,
Yeah,
domination is friendship, because at least she's not screaming at her, and she's actually
exactly.
engaging with her in some way.
At least they're having a conversation instead of,
Yeah.
people making monkey sounds.
Oh
What
god,
the
and they showed,
fuck, you
yeah, like
know?
she showed her enough respect to shake her hand, like, and that, yeah, that's,
Offered her lipstick.
oh
As
god,
she's putting on so much lipstick. She's
yeah,
sitting there just like going,
oh
"Do you want some?"
yeah,
It's like,
yeah, have
"No."
some lipstick. Oh
"You'll come
god.
around." It's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Oh, it's, yeah. I don't want to give anything away, but the lipstick thing is carried through the show.
Oh, dear.
It's, yeah. So there's more depressing lipstick scenes.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
So,
but
yeah, after that scene, then we cut
yeah.
directly back to Lucky and Gracie. They're in the basement trying to fix the windows or, like,
Oh
seeing
god, the
what's going on with the
basement.
windows.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
The beautiful basement, and, Gracie's just staring at this one really creepy corner in the basement,
very
so
dark.
Lucky comes over, and Gracie's like, "Do you see her? She's right there." And Lucky can't see anything, but this tall woman thing just like
Mm.
slowly approaches, and you just see her hand like caress Lucky's
Caress.
face. And you
Oh.
can tell she felt it, but like she
Yeah,
didn't see
yeah.
it.
Well then the ghost like screams and rattles like the window and freaks
Right,
her out,
yeah.
and she grabs the little girl and runs into the
And they go
kitchen.
up.
Yeah, but the little girl has this freaky part again. This little girl does such a great job where she's
She's so good.
describing the smell. It's like, I always smell
Oh,
her first, and it's like she doesn't smell right. It's like she smells like, like death, or she says something along those lines, or rot or something, and it's just, so creepy. The
yeah.
delivery.
She smells like she's dead.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, I always smell her first. I can hear her
Oh,
walking around. Miss, I forgot. Yeah, the Miss, not Miss Mabel, the marvelous Miss Mabel.
oh yeah, that's a different show.
Hey, same time period.
Yeah, a little
Cro-
more lighthearted though.
Crossover.
She just shows up.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just gonna do some stand up on your lawn.
yeah.
I'm
Hey, hey,
sure the
hey.
housewives would have a great sense of humor.
Oh my god. She's
They
like
wouldn't.
she becomes like a villain. They find out Miss
Oh, I love that.
Mabel's, yeah, she's like the villain of the show. She's just actually super racist. They're going in a
Oh
whole new
fuck.
direction.
Oh god. But yeah. Yeah, and then after they're upstairs,
Well, then
we
they go to the
learn
hard. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Then, well,
well,
she'll.
yeah, just Gracie just says that she's been seeing this lady since they moved in, and she tells her mom that she thinks there's something really bad here
Oh yeah.
and they should leave basically, but Lucky's just like, your daddy worked really hard for this place. um
Again.
we'll make it work, kind of a thing. And I'm just like, oh
Well,
fuck, you guys,
again,
they're all
that's
gonna die.
yeah, yeah. Well, again, it's hilarious because like the show's really good at like using like cliche horror cliches, just because that is also like a horror cliche, but it works so well. It's like anytime a little girl tells you a house is evil, you fucking listen
You
to
gotta
her.
believe them.
Yeah, you get the
Yes,
fuck out. Like, if a little
you
girl
need to
tells you
believe.
some creepy stuff about evil forces or whatever, you fucking believe them. Damn it.
Yeah,
That
you
little
fucking
girl.
believe
You
them.
know it's something terrible is gonna happen to you. It's like it never goes well anytime that happens.
No,
Little
never.
girls, they're her premonition. Yeah, so that's the
Yeah,
supernatural aspect of it.
the supernatural. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how they've tied that in there, or
They,
threaded in like this random supernatural element,
they
so you
juggle
don't
a lot of
expect it.
stuff. Yeah.
It's a lot going on. Speaking of a lot going on, it just like immediately cuts back to Bets.
Oh,
And
oh,
she has
Bets.
her like, yeah, her relationship with Midge. So she goes
Yeah.
to Midge's house. This part made me laugh and cringe at the same time because Midge immediately like
Oh.
lets her in and she's like, "Oh, I have to tell you about my new diet. It's called the Figure Eight, and I just have like they say that women actually get hungry 8 times a day. So I have the same meal 8 times a day." And it's like this is super depressing, like hard boiled eggs and then like a tiny cup of sherry that she's having
Yeah,
like
okay,
eight
that's
times
what
a day,
she's.
and that is it.
I've already lost 4 pounds.
I've already lost 4 pounds in 3 days. And
that's
you can
that's
tell
her
like she's
whole
so
line.
excited about it.
Yeah.
And
Like she's too
and
stupid to be racist. She doesn't even give a shit because like she's so
no,
airy and lightheaded.
she
Like,
does not give a shit at all.
yeah.
Which is like yeah, I think that is probably a lot of people back then were just completely complacent to
Yeah.
racism. They just didn't do anything about it, even though it was
Yeah.
there. They just, ignored it. And that's kind of Midge. She
Yeah.
so Bets is over there trying to convince her that they as women need to stand up to the Emorys, and they need to speak to the HOA meeting, I think. I don't
Weird
really know what
community.
that stands for.
I have no idea.
Um
Some weird suburban
some
cult thing.
yeah, like it was probably like a neighborhood committee or something.
Yeah.
And Midge is like, oh yeah, I'll just leave that to the guys, like they'll
Yeah.
deal with it.
I need to think about eating eggs.
I just want to eat my hard-boiled eggs and drink my sherry and sit in my empty house while I wait for my husband to come home. Oh my
She was probably
god.
pretty tipsy throughout the whole day if she just has eggs in her stomach and and a bottle of sherry. Just,
Sounds terrible.
Oh,
So yeah, she's just like clearly doesn't really care about this, and
so dumb.
Bets is just kind of really pressing on this. And one
Her
thing she says that really is so insane to me. She's like, "Well, this is what they do. There's one
oh.
person that always starts out in the neighborhood, and then they call their friends,
Oh,
and
yo,
then
they
their
make
friends
calls.
all
Yeah.
move in."
Oh,
And it's like,
God,
yeah, that's how it
the
works.
way she
People just make
talks.
calls to
Yeah,
have their friends move in next to them. It's
like
like,
they just
and you're
have the money. Oh,
insinuating that all their friends are also colored people and all their friends also want the same things that they do. It's like
well, and they have
you're
like a
you're
pack
insinuating so
mentality in their
many.
eyes.
It's like they're a disease that's spreading. That's kind of like how she
Yeah,
views them.
or at the very least, like an infestation, like rats or
Yeah.
cockroaches or something. Like she just, yeah, that like she views them in terms of, yeah, like a disease or something where it's inevitable. If you get it, you're gonna get sick. Like everyone knows, if you're starting to feel sick, you'll get sick, and so it's like,
Yeah.
well, they're gonna come, and in her mind, it's like a foregone conclusion that if they don't get rid of the
Yeah.
Emerys, it's like this is their final stand. Essentially, is like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah.
And they're
So
so
and
just. She's so justified in how she's talking. Like she sounds so like happy with herself and like so empowered to have all these horrible
yeah.
beliefs. You just want to punch her
She's
in the face.
so it's like she's super passionate about being racist.
Yeah, she is really evil. She is such a bitch. Like
She's such a bitch.
she just
And yeah,
really wants to hurt these people because she thinks that they are like a danger to her, like to her whole life. She's like she has nothing else, and it kind of also starts to like be revealed a little bit why she's such an asshole essentially, and like
I
how
don't think that's in this episode though.
oh no, it's just yeah, it's very lightly kind of started to be foreshadowing where it's like they have a few
Oh,
little
okay.
things where the talk about like she gets very rigid when they bring up babies.
Right, yeah, because I did get that vibe too, where it's like she
Hmm.
clearly wants a kid and she can't have one.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that's the next thing is Midge. She's like, "Oh, I didn't want to bring this up like this. I thought maybe Clark told you because I guess their husbands were talking, and Midge and her husband are planning on
No,
leaving.
I didn't.
Yeah,
She
she's
just says it like
they're moving and they're also with child, so it was like double blow where Betts is just like
she's got this
they're leaving,
horrible
so they're going to like someone
create
else is gonna move
space.
in, and then they're pregnant, so she's super jealous about that. And you just see her pick up the egg, and she just, what does she say? I wrote it down. Oh, she's like, "Good on ya, Midge," and then she grabs like the spoon and just like slams it against the egg. I was
It's
like,
like you know she's picturing her midge's skull and she's just
yes,
bashing it in, like,
I loved that part where
and
she's
she
like,
has like
yeah,
it's
her
so
face doesn't move, and she's just her smile, just like, "Good on ya,
and
Midge."
her eyes are so
Just
wide.
like, "Oh,"
It's so
just
intense.
manic. "Good on ya."
Yeah,
Except
it's
she
like
says
she's
it
about to
so
like
nice.
break her own teeth. Like she's grinning so hard.
Oh
She
god.
just keeps hitting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was that scene, and that scene made me happy,
Oh, I know you feel
just because
so
of
good when she
how
feels
angry
that.
when Bets is so pissed off. And then, yeah, now we cut back to Henry.
Oh gosh,
He's
yeah.
at work,
Having a good
um,
day.
and he's, understandably upset from the dog, passing away, so he's kinda out of it at work, just kind of like yeah, it's understand it was a huge shit show this morning, so he's sort of sitting at work processing it, and then the boss sees him not working, calls him into the office, and is like, "What are you gold bricking over there?"
Oh
kind of a thing,
god, yeah.
and
That's the uncomfortable scene as well.
super uncomfortable because it's that also in the time, I feel like someone like that would think he was being very accepting that he even let a colored person
Yeah.
into the office because he's just like I think at one point he's like, I don't care. People are people. La, la, la,"
Yeah,
like,
and all of God's creatures. I don't care. I
oh
went to
yeah, that's
bat
right.
for you, and like he really wants him to know that he put his neck out, and the only reason he has his job is because of him. So you
Yep.
better make
And
sure you keep him happy because no one else gives a shit about him, essentially, is what he says to him with the underlying tone.
yeah. Yeah. And at one point he was just like, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's not many colored people here. And then as it cuts back to Henry, the like janitor is walking behind him, who's also colored. He's
Yeah.
like pushing his cart. It's like, oh, that's terrible symbolism.
Yeah, and he makes like a joke, so he knows he has to try to get him on his good side, and he like begrudgingly says like, "No, I didn't realize." Or he says some joke about like, "Oh, really?" And the guy finds it funny, and that's
He
what like
finds
all
it
of a sudden
super funny.
he has like this really weird emotional switch, yeah, where he starts laughing and joking with him, and
Yeah.
like he's surprised that he would even have a sense of humor. Like
Yeah.
it took him aback so much that he's like, oh wow, he has a personality, like he's a
Yeah, because
person.
he's like trying to, because nobody lets colored people in this time era speak their mind. So it's like, of course,
No.
you're never going to find anyone's personality because you've pushed them so far down that
And
the
if you
only
do
thing they
speak your
can
mind, they'll
do,
beat the shit out of you.
exactly, because the only thing that they're allowed to do is just kind of do as they're told. That's it. Don't
Yeah.
say anything else. So they're just kind of seen as other,
Yeah, they're
you
not even
know.
allowed to be a person. It's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
a human. It's fucking dickheads.
So
It's like,
shit.
what do you think they
And
do when they're home? Like, they just power down and like stare at a wall. Like they're
yeah.
like robots to them. Ugh. More
Yeah.
actually, more like
So
donkeys. Ugh.
yeah, like, it's super shitty, and, yeah, so the boss is just he kinda like, he basically makes his story because Henry is explains that their family dog just died this morning,
Mhm.
and the boss basically turns it around and makes it about him. He's
Yeah,
like,
he's
"Well, I
such a
had a family dog that, he
scout.
died when he was at 11. Oh,
Yeah,
I cried like a little schoolgirl," or whatever, and it was
yeah.
just like, "Fuck's sakes," and then after that, he was like, "Alright, play hurt, but get back in the game." It's like, "What the fuck? Play hurt? What do you mean play
Such a
hurt? He is hurt."
yeah. It's like his
So
dog just died.
shit. Yeah, and so then he hands him a folder, he's like, "Get this done before lunch," and so Henry looks at it, opens it to look at it, and he's like, "Did I tell you to open it?"
Oh, and yeah, his
It's
tone
just
just
like, "What the
changes.
fuck?"
Yeah, because he's like
Just
laughing.
immediately,
Yeah, just on a dime. It
just the
just
most
the fact that he
slimy
feels,
person.
yeah, he feels so comfortable treating him that way. Like he has no
Yeah,
problem just like it's like, oh, I'll be kind when you deserve it, but if you do something wrong, it's like it's almost like it's like he's speaking to him like a dog. Like it's like you're
yeah,
happy with your dog until he does something wrong, and then you have to discipline your dog because
yeah.
he that's the only way he'll learn. And it's so condescending and yeah.
Yes.
And then follow and in case you weren't able to pick up on any of that yourself, the next scene is him going to the bathroom and jamming just an endless supply of paper towel in his mouth and screaming at the top of his lungs, just like, and
Yep.
he's just seething as he's walking down the hall, and this poor guy is just trying to hold it together with his dog's dead and he's treated like shit so all the time. Like he had to
Yeah.
deal with the cops that morning and then his boss, like while processing that as someone murdered his dog. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot to
It's
deal with
great.
for first thing in the morning. It's not even lunchtime.
I know, I was like, "Wait, that all happened, like, before 8 o'clock or something? That's
Oh my
so early."
god, it's like I can't imagine having a day like that. Like
No,
Jesus,
me
just like
neither. The cops are there at, like, 8 in the morning as
you know,
because your wife was out there
yeah,
screaming because her dog died or was murdered.
so much to deal with, and also you know that you've sent your daughter, your firstborn child, into like a pit of vipers where she's
Yeah.
gonna get treated like crap all day, and
Yep.
it's just like, oh my god, this poor
Just
family.
so much probably going through his head, and he's just like, "Just grin and bear it. It's just it'll get better," and it's
It
not
just
getting better.
it's
It's
not getting
getting worse.
it just keeps
So,
getting worse.
there's
It's
a
like
little bit of a reprieve.
Oh
now,
yeah.
because now we cut to the hardware store.
Oh yes, kind elderly man.
Yeah, so they walk into Gracie and Lucky walk into the hardware store because they're trying to fix the windows in the basement. One of them is a little loose.
Yeah.
Um, and to everyone's surprise, Lucky's surprise, and to the audience members, the
Yeah.
hardware store owner is super nice and was just very friendly and sociable with both of them.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's like
it was just nice. He was just an old nice guy, and so
he's
they
the
go
only
about their
white person
way
in the show that has actually shown them any kindness whatsoever.
like
Like,
a just normal person,
it's like, can I
like
work
a
at your
normal.
store, sir? Like, I
Yeah,
would.
can I just live here, please,
Yeah, can
so
I
that I
live here?
just stay.
Oh
Oh,
no.
nice. Got some music. Oh, it's your.
I have to pause. I have to go get my good foods. We'll have to cut
Okay.
this part. I'll be right
Okay, I'm pausing.
back.
All right. Yeah. So they enter the hardware store with a very kindly older gentleman that owns it and is running the store, welcomes them. And yeah, they're just going about their way trying to find equipment to fix those windows. And Lucky loses track a little bit of Gracie as she tries to find her and finds herself standing in front of a giant wall of axes.
Very Shining esque. Oh, just and
So
music
funny.
starts playing and
Yeah,
swelling.
gonna say because the music is like ready or not, here I come, like that song
It's like
starts playing,
she started
and
to
it's
go
just
crazy.
yeah, the music is super upbeat, and then she hallucinates the nice counter guy next to her saying, "I wonder, do you ever wonder what the brain meat looks like? If some bitch killed my dog, I might get curious."
It's so great. Like it's so crazy sounding, but like it's so over the top, but so great at the same time. Like it kind of has like her personality in mixed in with it. Like
Yeah, yeah,
because
it
she
was really good.
well, because like when she tries to calm her daughter down, and after the basement scene, she tells Grace like, "Okay, remember Gracie, what'll happen if anyone tries to touch a hair on your head?" And she's like, "Mommy will beat their ass." She's like, "That's right, baby."
Yes.
She says it so adorably, and Sheep is like,
That's right, baby. Yeah. Yeah.
so it's like,
Mommy will kick their ass.
and she's kind of like looking down, looking at her, like
Yeah.
embarrassed to say it.
Gracie is the cutest.
Oh, she's
Oh.
adorable. So yeah, she's
So that
Lucky sassy.
happens.
She's got
Lucky is
spunk.
sassy. She does. And yeah, so
She's gonna
so
hack
that's
somebody.
happening. And then it cuts back to Henry not having a great time
Oh god,
in the
yeah.
hallways at work.
And they're
Um,
sterile white hallways too. They're just like
Sterile white hallways, and he's still clearly triggered from, you know, talking
everything.
to his asshole boss and everything. And then I think it must have just been something about the hallways must have seemed similar to where the experiments happened,
Hmm.
because he just starts hallucinating like this or having PTSD of mustard gas just entering the hallways. Everything turns like this super deep orange yellow,
Yeah.
and you can see there's like a glass window at the end of the hall, and there's he hallucinates some guy being victim to the mustard gas, and his skin is all peeling off, and he's just like at the window.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty
help
gruesome.
me.
It's like,
Yeah,
oh god, that's what they did to you? Like Jesus.
that's what happened to the people that had it worse, I'm assuming, because
Yeah,
he did
yeah.
mention that there were a lot of others who had it much worse than he did. So
It's like, oh god, it's so horrifying
yeah,
to think about. Just like how like do that to somebody
yeah.
who signs up to fight for your country. It's like, oh, well, we're just gonna fucking test chemical weapons on you instead. It's like, what?
It's great.
What's the
Like,
point?
yeah,
Yeah,
there
it's
are
like,
other options.
well, yeah,
Don't
and
have
it's
to
like,
test them on your own soldiers.
well, yeah, and like when he's talking to his wife about it, and he just says, it's like, why not observe it on the Nazis instead of your own soldiers? Like, you could, I'm sure whatever you design will still probably kill them really well. Like, if the purpose of you
Yeah.
making it is to murder somebody with gas, I'm sure it's pretty effective.
Sure, it's great
Yeah.
for the
So yeah,
things you need it to do. So yeah, that happens with Henry.
bad
Then
day at work.
and then we're back to Betts and Clark.
Having a
And
nice
it's
family dinner.
later in the evening, so
Sitting down for
Betts is
supper.
yeah, they're sitting down for supper, and Betts basically confronts Clark about like why he hasn't told her about Midge moving, and they sort of have a conversation about, obviously they need more space, and Betts is just super pissed off at
So
Midge, and
pissed.
Clark is just like, well, why are you so mad? Isn't she your best friend? And oh,
It's
I forget the line she says. She's like, best friends are just friends that you haven't tested yet. And it was like, what?
what does that mean?
What the
What a
fuck is
terrible person.
so it's just like, okay, so you just haven't like stood up to her, so she's just by default your best friend? I don't understand. So
Shitty
basically,
criteria for friendship, that's for
yeah,
sure.
Betts is trying to convince Clark to speak up at the next meeting to try to get the
The mob going.
Andersons. Is that
Eh,
their
The
Emerson, Emery's, Emery's.
Emerys.
I was
I was like, who?
Andersons.
The Andersons. Ah, yes.
Emery's. I've said their names so many
I
times
know.
and it
I'm
just
like,
fell out of my brain.
I thought you were actually talking about another family because it's like she said their name so many times. It's like she knows it better than I do. I always forget. I'm like,
No,
she must be thinking of another family.
the Emerys, because she really wants to get rid of the Emerys, and
Those
Clark
Don
is
Emerys.
again, yeah, Clark is again like not really super stoked
Enthusiastic.
on that idea.
He
Like
just doesn't
he
care.
doesn't care about getting these people out of their neighborhood. It's not a big deal to him, but he
He's got a
says
life.
he'll do it only if she reconciles with Midge, because he's like, it's weird you guys are fighting like this. Like, make up and then I will have a talk at
Yeah.
the meeting.
Well,
She's
essentially, he
like,
just
okay,
doesn't want to be.
great.
He just doesn't want to be bothered. Like, I think that's the
Yeah.
only reason why he cares and is willing to do it. Because he's like, I have to hear from my buddy that my wife has upset his wife, and I don't want to have
Yeah.
to think about it. So just deal with that, and I'll say your stupid thing, and then hopefully
Yeah.
everyone will just forget about it. Like, he just doesn't
Exactly.
care.
That's what it seems like.
Mhm.
And yeah, so of course Betts is like, oh, well, perfect, because I just remembered that Midge actually needed some sugar. So she grabs her pot of sugar, and it's a sequence of her just like walking like a super house,
Super
like a
house.
like a super housewife bitch is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's
Super bitch housewife. I said it
yeah.
in a really weird
You had all the words; they just didn't
way.
quite appear in the right order. They were all there. I could see what you were
Yeah.
going for.
Yeah, yeah. Super house. She
Yeah.
walks this super house walks out with a bowl of sugar, and she's just like being all sassy and bitchy and
She's just
in
so
her
full of herself all the time. Like, oh, she's so
she's
confident.
and she's waspy. That's a good word. Like very
Ah,
waspy. And she's just like
yeah.
walking down with this stupid bowl of sugar, and she goes to their brand new car and pours all of it in their gas tank and then walks back. It was like,
Such an asshole.
but I also love that sequence because I love to hate her. So watching her do that, I was like, poor Midge, but
I
it was
know.
fun. It was a
I
fun
know,
sequence.
right? It's like
she's
you're an
just so
asshole
good
by
at being,
association.
yeah. She's
So-
so good at being bitchy though. That
oh, I
actress,
know.
she's so good.
He just wanted, yeah, you wanted to just see her life become more and more miserable over
Yeah,
the
you
course of the
do.
show.
You really do.
Yeah,
So
like you at least hope that she also hates her life, and it's,
yeah,
yeah, well, she's got
yeah,
nothing.
and she's got nothing to do. So this is all she's doing with her life, and it's very sad.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Sad if she wasn't a horrible, horrible person.
yeah, but and yeah, and basically the episode ends at the Emerys. We're back at the dinner table, and it is very reminiscent of the dinner table at the opening of this episode.
Mhm.
But it starts out with Gracie telling Henry about their day, and she was like, "Yeah, we saw the lady again in the basement," and Lucky is like, "Oh shit, why did you have to say that?" And
Ixnay on the lady.
I know,
Principal lady.
Henry Henry is like, "Oh, really? I guess Mama will have to tell me about that later." And it didn't seem like he had any condensation in his voice,
Yeah.
but it just triggered Lucky. Like she immediately thought back to this morning where Henry was basically insinuating that she was insane to the police,
Mm-hmm.
and so she gets up and she gets a piece of pie for him and slams it in front of him, and she was like, "You know what? You're right. I was feeling a little bit off this morning, but I'm feeling great now." Gives him the pie, and
Oh,
she's like, "Eat up." And he
oh, the
just
most
looks at her,
uncomfortable pie eating
and
scene
their
in
eye
cinematic
contact,
history.
yes, their eye contact was so uncomfortable because you can tell that Lucky is sort of fighting internally with herself doing this. Like she
Mm-hmm.
understands how horrible it is
How,
for her to be doing this,
how painful for him.
but she's still doing it. So it's like she is fighting with this part of herself that is kind of
Yeah.
becoming darker.
And I think she just
And
wants him to know so badly, like, how he's making her feel in that moment, like, by
true,
saying
yeah,
that she's crazy. It's like, this is the exact same equivalent. Here, eat some fucking pie. Call me crazy.
yeah,
If I'm crazy, then just eat that pie, and then I'll believe you. Like, so it's
that's a
like,
good point. Yeah,
yeah, it's like I
yeah,
want you to
because
know.
and he tries so hard to not seem like there's anything wrong with him
Oh
that
no,
he is basically gagging and having
just shut.
flashbacks, PTSD as he's eating this pie, and he's having
So
flashbacks to like
uncomfortable.
burying their dog, flashbacks to the mustard gas scenes of like soldiers getting
Yeah,
fucked up,
yeah. All of
and
his trauma is just
it's just all
all
coming back. And
flooding.
yeah, and so he's really, really struggling. Everyone at the table is kind of horrified, but
It's
Lucky is
very
continuing to just
uncomfortable.
make eye contact, and he finishes it,
Just like,
and it's got that really cool camera technique with the like splicing of their faces,
mm-hmm.
and they're both crying basically, and it in the middle you see the where the dog was buried, you see that becoming spliced in, and then it takes over the whole scene. It's like, oh, that's a cool transition.
Yeah.
um and then it ends with this, I can't tell because it was night, it could have
Mhm.
been blood or just black goo, like just pooling out of his grave, and that's where it ends. It's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is happening?
This is- well,
What is happening?
that's, there's so much happening. It's so awful. It feels so terrible.
Oh, but it's so well done. It's like I can't
Oh.
stop watching this.
Yeah, it's so
So
compelling
good.
to keep watching it, but you just know you're not gonna be in for a miserable. It's like I want to see what happens to this family, and like, I guess like you just hope that there's a happy ending to it. It's like, oh god, there has to be. Like, I just hope that this like something happens that's
Oh,
positive by the end of this show. Like, it's so this poor family. They're so nice. They're like such nice people. They don't deserve any of this.
yeah.
And it's just yeah, they're treated so and like if they just didn't have to deal with a bunch of fucking racist white pricks, then they would be totally happy. It's like the only
Hmm.
thing that is making their life miserable is racism. Like they are such nice people. They clearly are smart and like strong driven people that would be wonderful people. Like
I know. If they didn't live in a time that was so racist, they would be doing amazing. They'd be
yeah,
doing great things.
you just
But
want to like imagine.
not only are they in a super racist neighborhood, but they're also being haunted by this weird racist ghost in the basement also.
I know. They can't. It's like if they go outside, they deal with real living racists. If they stay inside, they have to deal with a horrible racist ghost. So either way, the fucked.
They're fucked.
They're
So
fucked.
yeah,
I
that's
will.
the end of day 3. So
It's a
that the second
long day.
episode, yeah, the second episode was just one day. It's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, okay. We're on
Yeah,
episode 2, and so much has happened. It's like,
so
what else is gonna
exhausted.
happen? What else?
I know, it's just like, and you have to think about it. It's like, okay, in the first episode it said 10. Oh, this happens over 10 days, so there's still 7 more days unaccounted for, and
Things are gonna get real bad.
yeah, it's not going to get better. It's like there's no positivity in sight. It's not like, oh, there's that ray of sunshine in the distance, a light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, no, that tunnel's dark as shit.
It's not a good
It's
tunnel.
a bad long
Don't
tunnel. There's not a good
don't
lighting in it.
go to there.
Oh, it's like, just
So yeah.
go live in the woods. Just hide out and
Yeah.
become bush people, because like they're horrible people everywhere. Oh god.
Yep. If you're somehow, this is kind of leading into what we're gonna do next, but yeah, we're somehow teleported into the woods. Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Or not teleported into the woods, teleported into the 50s, back in time.
Just stay
And
away.
yeah, just don't associate with the housewives. Go live in the bushes. That's how we're gonna end this episode.
How to survive the 50s.
Stay tuned for more amazing insights from Chris and Emma on
Who knows what we'll forget
on
next?
on the Them series.
Them
Or watch
too.
it yourself and then come and watch us ramble about it. But yeah, this is another good episode in the books. So
Oh,
I look forward to watching more and talking about it next week.
yeah, everyone listening to this, go watch it. Show, it's amazing.
Go watch
Feel
it!
like shit about yourself.
Yay!
Yeah.
Okay, bye! Have a good day.
All right, podcast's over.